Are you ready for this? We're going to pair up Snowflake. Come on up, Marcus. We're going to pair up Snowflake against Databricks. Joachim.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Be nice, be nice. Be nice, be nice. And we can't, of course, keep these two people here. And for that purpose, we asked our German partner, Inform Data Lab, who is platform agnostic. They work with both vendors, to be up here on stage. CEO and founder of Inform Data Lab from Aachen in Germany, Jens Sieberts. Jens.
Hi. To make it
I think it's best if you sit in the middle between these two gentlemen. I'll sit on the sidelines and watch the battle. Let me just move this here.
Don't bite.
Can you guys?
How about ears?
Rule number one: be gentle.
We will.
Yeah, we will do our best.
Anyway, so this will be good for your social media feed for today. Anyway, thank you for being here and for agreeing to this panel today. It's great. Data platforms, you guys play such an important role in the overall data stack at our customers, all of you. You from an implementation perspective, you from the technology perspective. Can you just quickly introduce yourself in just 2 sentences?
Yeah. My name is Joachim Helg. I'm the country leader of Databricks for Finland and Norway. I've been in Databricks for like 5 years. It doesn't sound that long, but we are only 11 years old company, so it's quite a long time. We were like 800 people when I joined, and now we are around 8,000 people. So I'm really grateful to be here and also be part of this data journey we are all part of. This is a journey, it's a marathon for all of us. So thank you.
Jens.
Yep. My name is Jens. It was funny this morning when you said, okay, Excel turned 40 years, because I started with Excel a long time ago, and then I thought, okay, there must be something else than Excel. I was a nerd in Excel, but then I got into that BI space, and then we founded the Data Lab a couple of years ago. We are tool agnostic, so we help customers to become data driven. And we like data warehouses, and we work. Definitely, I don't say that because I'm sitting now in between them. But these are our most preferred data warehouse tools. Yeah.
Thank you, Markus Päivinen, Snowflake Finland and Baltics. I've been with Snowflake something like, I would imagine, 3 years by now. Have a bit of a history in the data domain, 20 plus years, and a fun fact that most of you might not know: me and Joachim are actually old colleagues in the past, from the Salesforce era. So let's see how this goes.
It is true. So
it is true.
Yeah, fun fact.
So did you split on bad terms?
Let's not go into that. Sorry.
Cool. So question for the two of you. So earlier in my opening, I spoke about data being the fuel for AI, the data warehouse being the gas station, then naturally for AI. Am I making sense or not?
Yeah. No, I think we believe in, Databricks, we are an innovation company. We have innovated Apache Spark, Delta Lake, MLflow, and all of these cool technologies that are open source. And we put them together to a unified analytics platform called the Lakehouse, the data lakehouse. And why is this so exciting? I think about it, all enterprises are so siloed. One of the biggest problems out there is the disconnect between business and IT. And I think this is what I love personally about the data lakehouse, because we get all the data and all the data personas onto one unified platform, and that makes it go faster. So that is, and if you don't have good data, you cannot do AI, right?
Yeah. I mean, it might hallucinate, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my point of view, basically, we could go and sharing, we could agree on most of the topics that Joachim was saying. I think from an early on when we started, basically the foundation was that let's innovate something which is the first actual data warehouse born in the cloud. So we didn't have the legacy to drag with us, which is, can be painful. If you have an install base of 1 million accounts or 1 million customers, you can't really go and change the code base like radically because you have to cater the customers that you have. So I think the early on, we took a bit of a different focus from the early days, focusing on the data warehousing capability. And we are still on the same journey. So basically that's what we have been building and developing for the past, now it's actually 10 years from the first QA of the first product. And I think to the question, we have been hearing a lot of AI and stuff, but referring to the first one we heard today, the foundation needs to be in a good shape to take advantage. So we are seeing a lot of customers doing experimentation. They might already have kind of a production-ready applications, what they have been building, but then it boils down to the question of is this secure, is this governed, how is the TCO now versus 3 years, can this scale up? And as Joachim was saying, can this cater all the users we have in the organization? Because usually it's easy to develop something for a small user group or do an experimentation back in the lab, in the sandbox. But when you scale it out to thousands of users in the organization, that's where you usually get a bit tricky.
Yeah, thank you for that. So Jens, I'm going to put you on the spot here between the two guys here. You guys talk about the data lakehouse as being the solution. You guys mostly talk about the data warehouse. Jens, you do both things. What's your perspective on this?
I think we have seen the answer on Carsten's slide. Maybe you have seen it. So when you see the ranking of the users, I think the lowest one was a lakehouse. And not because it is unimportant there, no, don't beat me, but I think the end users do not care. So the end users, that was Carsten's last slide. We want the users to talk with and about data. And I think for them it doesn't matter, so we use both. It depends what is better or not. The difference is not huge, to be honest, because storage is pretty cheap, and we don't see that difference here. We like both, and it depends which makes more sense. So both is good, and for the end users, they do not care.
May I comment?
Sure. Shall we?
I have my point of view, right? But I actually agree with Marcus from Snowflake. You were born in the cloud, and we were also born in the cloud. We took a strategic decision, the 7 founders, the PhD guys from Berkeley, saying we don't do on-premise. And you're a cloud company as well. And this has made us innovate so much faster. So I mean, a warehouse is good for some use cases, a data lakehouse, I think that is the right solution. But what we agree on is that we love the cloud, and we think if you're not in the cloud, you might have some challenges to go faster, right? With Gen AI and everything happening out there.
Yeah,
so I'm in agreement with you in a way.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be, because the product innovation, so looking at the overall architecture of these solutions, so it's the multi-tenant environment is such that you only create one code base, and you actually then deliver that across the global customer base. So it's like the speed of innovation is like, for us, it's a 1 release per week. So it doesn't have to be like once in a year or so on and so forth. So the cloud provides the basic fundamentals, basically how fast can you develop stuff. And then it's like Jens mentioned, it's pretty much dictated by the use case, by the organizational maturity. Is there a data strategy in place? What needs to be the foundation, and what actually, we as an industry, I think we can agree that we're really good at inventing new terms and terminologies and changing the game. So we're really good at confusing customers. We kind of come and we innovate something new and we call it, something X, Y, and Z. But the fact is that these capabilities are coming closer. The pace of the innovation is so fast that we basically started journey of AI capabilities in 2022. And now that's what our customers are using. So it's rather different nowadays than even 4 or 5 years back, I would say.
Yeah.
Wow. That actually leads me straight into another question. So you guys are already hitting upon some really important points. There's still, so I'm from Germany, Jens is from Germany, And I hate to say it, but Germany is a little bit behind with cloud adoption. There are a lot of companies, hopefully not here in the room today, are there? We'll find you. There's a lot of companies, especially senior management, they're reluctant to go to the cloud. I mean, what we often hear is security, for example. Security and then cost concerns. Jens, I mean, what's your take on this? I mean, is it still timely to be on-prem with your data warehouse, with your entire data team?
So since several years, when we go to customers, we start with a data strategy project. We want to know, okay, what do you want to achieve? Where do you want to go? And then we do a kind of define the architecture, and then we do a recommendation always. The last 5 years, we recommended 0 times the on-prem data warehouse. So it doesn't make any sense for me at all. For sure there are, especially in Germany, but I think overall concerns regarding security, but I don't see that point for sure. There is uncertainty regarding cloud consumption costs. I can understand that point because I cannot calculate it, but all projects we did, we were cheaper with the cloud than with on-prem. So for us, there's no reason to stick to on-prem in analytics or AI use cases. For sure, when you want to run a test server which runs 25 hours, 7 days, then maybe on-prem could be cheaper. But for all analytics and AI use cases, we only recommend cloud.
Yeah, very good. Do you guys have an opinion on this?
No, I agree with you, but the biggest driver, I think, I agree that Finland is really a powerhouse in cloud, much faster than, I'm Swedish, much faster and more adoption than Sweden, for example. So that's amazing to see. But, why should you go cloud? I think it's, all about speed, innovation, and agility. How can you innovate with AI and Gen AI on premise nowadays? It's impossible.
Is it actually possible? I mean,
we don't allow it like that, but most of the models and everything is in the cloud, so it's impossible, But not all companies see that yet.
But all vendors, they do all the innovations in the cloud. So if you want to stick to your on-prem, then you lose the connection to the modern AI future.
Yeah, and I think it's like Finland and Norway has been, I think, the most mature cloud adoption countries, even within the public sector across EMEA, at least for some of the hyperscaler cloud vendors. So the maturity is there. But what we have been seeing, like if you look at 10 years back, the tables are actually turning the other way around, that the on-premise environment, let's think about how much, example, Microsoft invests into cybersecurity. That's billions. So what is the chance that your local data center provider can basically, because the product innovations happens in cloud, so you can't really, you can't deploy it on-prem. The second thing is that these cybersecurity threats, they are global. So, and the big boys are the best ones as they kind of control and maintain the networks. They're pretty in a sweet spot to identify the risks and react on it. So I think the tables have been turning, like from the old days, my data center and I want to keep it in my city or within my country. Well, the unfortunate events in exam, like we have been seeing in the past 2 years, is that your country might not be even the right place to store those. So we are seeing example in the finance industry is that you need to have a really solid plan. How do you deploy and run certain services from cloud to keep things going? What's the continuity? So I think in that the tables are turning the other way around. But of course, that's a challenge we have to overcome.
I would agree. I would much rather have my personal data somewhere in the cloud rather than at home in my desk, for example. I mean, to just keep it really simple. Yes, thank you for that. We called this the trend panel. Let's talk about a trend, or actually let's talk about something that's looming. There's a new European regulation for ESG coming into play next year. Jens, your team is an expert in this area. Can you just highlight real quick what this is about and why maybe this audience should worry about this as well?
Yeah, so there's a new regulation, the CSRD, in place. So all companies above 250 employees needs to make it concrete measure about 90 KPIs and send them to Brussels next year. And what we see in Germany, and I'm sure here as well, let's ask, who knows that you all above 250 employees need to measure 90 KPIs, ESG KPIs, environmental, social governance? Okay, few. And who is ready with that? 90 KPIs in your data warehouse, in your BI tool, somewhere else to measure that? Who's ready? Jesus. 2-1. Hey.
Let me guess. Excel?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, so we see, when we talk to customers, we see exactly that. And and that is a challenge, because when you need to be ready at the end of next year, like when you build a house, you should start a bit earlier when you want to move in next year. And you should go to the architect a little bit in advance. And yeah, that is a challenge. And when we talk about these 90 KPIs with customers, we first talk about ESG reporting, which KPIs, because they usually don't know, and especially the environmental KPIs are totally different, way more complex to collect. So all these discussions end up in a ESG data management discussion, because they have no clue how to collect the data, how to bring them together. And a good example is our parent company, Inform. So we had a BI click solution before, and now with that new ESG regulation, with the complexity of that ESG, we decided, to put a data warehouse in between, bring those data together, and then put BI and all that stuff on top. And I think that is a challenge, a trend, a must-have for the next 1.5 years. And I think that will be very challenging for us as a consulting company, because when we talk to customers, they say, okay, yeah, it's a lot of time until end of next year. But that's not true. So that will be a challenge for us during the next year.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's regulation. I mean, in the beginning, there's only, I believe, reasonable assurance. So the auditors will actually be looking at the data. And then year over year, it will become more stringent. And so your recommendation is, what I hear from you is, put it in a good place right from the beginning, rather to do these one-offs. It's actually almost like with AI, right? I mean, some companies just started with AI, took some spreadsheets, and then there we go. Is this something, Joachim and Marcus, that you guys run into as well, ESG? Is this a topic?
Yeah, definitely. It is a topic, as the other regulations which are hitting at least, the borders of EU. So I think, after having many discussions with customers, so they might call it CSRD or CSDDD, which is the due diligence phase of the reporting. So it's kind of a different terms, but, go back and Google it. You'll find a lot of interesting nighttime reading. But we see basically, it is a data problem. With the modern architecture implemented, you can basically adapt and you can take information from an external sources, because it's putting many customers into a tough kind of a situation. They have their own internal systems in place. They might have a good enough or good data, modern data warehouses in place. They have the operational systems running and so on. But it's like the regulation is actually, it is forcing you to go out and start acquiring external data sets. So customers are thinking how to do that in an efficient manner. One customer said that within our context, it's about integrating 16 new data sources into our, data platform. And then it's about rules, how do you run those KPIs, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely something that customers need to react. But we see example in finance industry, which is really mature in terms of handling data and running data. Some customers have really, the early adopters has found an advantage, so they use the marketplace to download some of the data sets, which are, agreed that this is good to go. You can use this industry information if it's available. And they have started building, they are meeting with the legislation and the requirements, but they have started building, like green investment portfolios. So it's that they're kind of this is what we need to be. The compliance needs to be in place, but how do we take this advantage to create something new so that it would actually open a new business for them? So definitely yes, and please act now, even though Excel is a good tool, but it's going to take a bit of a time, as Jens, you was saying.
Yeah. I think, that's really good points, Marcus. So then there's the aspect data integration, and then also data sharing will become probably really important, because some companies also have to report to their suppliers and so forth, or suppliers have to report to their customers and so forth. So it's a whole big aspect, and so this will definitely become more and more important. So maybe we can urge you to take a good look at this. This is a very unique opportunity for you right now, by the way. Do you have any questions for these three?
Come on.
Anything you've ever wanted to ask? We have a question over here, here actually.
Hi.
Hi. We actually have one of the organizers of Helsinki Data Week.
Welcome to Helsinki Data Week. Good to see you all here. I have a question. So occasionally we do hear comments on LinkedIn and elsewhere about people moving workloads back into on-prem from cloud. Are you actually seeing this for real, or is this just fear-mongering?
We read about it and we hear about it.
We too read about it.
But I haven't seen it personally in Nordics. But I think still, how much workloads do we have in the cloud together? 5-10%. The majority is still on premise. So sure, something is moved back, very little, but there is so much more to go into the cloud. So that's the trend we still see, and we'll see for many, many years.
Yeah, and I think that's the other approach. Have read probably the same post about this. Is we tried AWS and we did X, Y, and Z, or some of the hyperscalers. This is the cost that we ended up with 2 years. So we're going to go back to on-premise because that's going to be cheaper. So cloud is secure. You should really do that if you haven't. Living in Finland, it's like, somebody without a mobile phone. It's like, if you're not running your business in cloud, that's what you basically are. But the reality is that you need to be, the lift and shift that happened in the first wave when public cloud and the hyperscalers came in, you took your old stuff and you just lifted it there. Well, it doesn't work that way. So it needs to be a consideration of what are you running in cloud, how you are running it. It requires, certain tools require governance, they require maintenance and optimization. So it's by default it's not like we go there and it's cheaper, that's what they promised to the CIO. That didn't happen. So it's still a transformation if you want to take the full advantage of the cloud capabilities. So yes, I can imagine that has happened. Lift and shift, wow, they send us a big invoice. So
yeah, I remember a big lift and shift of Palantir and Teradata. It was a huge one.
Yeah.
And then the customer said it's a bit expensive. But they were very fast. They lifted it in 6 months. But then we helped them to optimize it, and everything is fine. Yeah. So I think overall, enterprises need to spend more time on upskilling, skills development, because think about it. We give developers and data people superpowers, unlimited compute. That can be expensive, right?
But you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
We get that question, that the cloud consumption costs are too high. I think what is the advantage of both of them? It's very easy to set up a data warehouse. With your technique, it's super easy. But what you have to take care of that you do it in an efficient way. And we offer a cloud consumption optimization workshop that is a very nice one. Yeah, and there we find always optimizations. And for sure, when you do a full load every hour, then it is cost intense. But you have to identify the cost drivers, and then you usually find a solution to shrink down the costs. And for sure, you have to take care. But we never put workloads back to on-prem.
Yeah, very good to hear. Yeah, and good point that you raised earlier. We still have a lot to do to move into into the cloud. We have time for one more question, or would you guys be okay if we go 5 minutes over? Yeah?
Yeah, related to this on-prem things, the bigger players, SAP, Microsoft with Fabric and then Oracle are building their own solutions and then, of course, bringing the things to cloud. How you, Databricks and Snowflake, see your position in that situation?
Well, it's so first things first, it's that, whatever cloud is better than whatever you have in on-premise. That's the first thing. The second thing is that don't repeat the same mistakes as probably you have done with your on-premise solution. So invest into an asset and that stays there for 5 years. If you don't get any value, it's still there for 5 years. So our original approach was that, okay, let's get rid of the silos, let's go into a cloud, but let's not create a new silo. So that's what we mean by multi-cloud. So we need to be friends, and we are, with all the big hyperscalers, because we run and operate on Azure, we run and operate on AWS and GCP. So we have a joint product development ongoing. How do we integrate the services more in a native way with the hyperscaler cloud providers? And it's being part of the game, but it's about that. I think we were the early adopters of the cloud-only approach, and then thinking about how do we leverage, the pure scale of the cloud, and how do we use that in a most optimal manner.
And maybe a comment, I agree with you, but I fully agree, multi-cloud is the way forward, because we see enterprises are switching back and forth. And that's also your buying power to know that you do it. So don't get yourself locked in. Nobody wants to sit in a new Oracle or SAP. Excuse me, but you as a customer, you need to have the power. Store your data in an open format and have the power to have it on multi-cloud. So you can decide about your future, because without a data and AI strategy platform people, you're not going to stay in business. The winners will be data and AI companies. We know it, but not everybody in maybe your organizations are aware about it when you go higher up. But this is the trend we see, you need to be a data and AI company to stay ahead of the game. And because of that, you need a data platform that is open, and you have the power to move between clouds and don't have any lock-in.
Yeah, very good point. But don't say anything about SAP.
No. They are German.
Sorry. We're German, so. Okay, I would say one final question, and then we'll wrap it up. So over here.
Very quickly, and expanding on some of your comments from there, looking at the banking organization and topology as an example, there is now the open banking initiative, so no one bank can compel their customers to stay with them simply because it's too hard to move to another vendor. In the same way as cloud providers, do you foresee there ever being some kind of an open cloud provider initiative?
Joachim, you go first.
I think that's an amazing idea. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think we might end up there, but it will take some years. All the costs, egress costs between the clouds, that's not good for the customer, even if the two cloud providers are amazing. They are really good, but this is, some kind of cost that is not good. So I think it's coming, but who knows when.
The following comment is completely my own. Just looking around the eco, so everything starts to be an ecosystem game nowadays. So reading at news that Oracle is going their partnership with AWS, they have done partnership Azures, they have built something next to Azure data centers, they have done something in the network side to avoid latency and so on. It's an ecosystem game, and that will be a benefit of the beneficiary will be you as a customer, because these ecosystems are opening up, and they basically have to, because customer is having the choice from that asset which is like in your basement. You have a choice, and many of the SaaS solutions starts to be open source. You have the open source option, you have the modularity in the architecture to use different computing engines, different storages. So it's kind of forcing us to think about, how do we play and what is our role in that ecosystem. But really that's the value for you as a customer, because we're doing the fighting on behalf of you, basically.
Very good. Cool. One final question for the two of you, and then I'll direct it at Jens. Which platform is better, Snowflake or Databricks? Don't. Jens? Don't.
A voting contest, a shouting contest.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that later at the bar. So ask them which platform is better. No, we really appreciate working with both of you. Thank you very much. You guys are great partners, and we want to continue that journey. We really appreciate you coming up here on stage together. It was seriously, a lot of people were surprised that they would do this. I think they deserve a big round of applause for that. Good job, Jens. And of course, also thank you for Jens being in the middle of them. We need to get a photo together before we do that. So, but in any case, I have the honor today to represent our Agile Data Engine team. We're immensely proud of having you guys here today. I mean, seriously, we've doubled the numbers here at this event today, over 250 people. Thank you so much for being here today and for supporting our community. Thank you.